So my name is Vissu. I've been working with Verizon as a DevOps platform engineer, and then I started working as a Dojo coach to support the teams with the cloud migration that's where happening in Verizon DOJO. So the whole thing here is like today I'm going to talk about the work we did at the Verizon DOJO, helping a team that's called one-time payment, OTP, where they been part of the Verizon DOJO for 12 to 18 weeks to go through the cloud-native journey to refactor their monolith application to microservices. So basically, what this application is like, they have a payment section where they're going to do their payments, allow the customers to do their payments with the account number and some ID that they're going to provide while they access with the one-time payment. So it's not like the customers need not set up any account or register for the account to make, if they just want to make the payments, this is what they do with their account number. And the next phase we are coming into is like the My Bill and Pay Bill, where they're going to do more about customer account setup and all those things. But at the initial stage, they came up with moving the cloud native with a small piece of their application to one-time payment with account number. So that the customer need not log in or set up any account, and that can be done through one-time payment. So are you guys ready for 5G? That Verizon is starting, and we already have that, and we are in business in few places like Houston, Indianapolis, Los Angeles, and Sacramento. So we are pretty much excited to bring in this 5G, and we are looking for more across everywhere. And all these things we get through all to come up with this, like our credo. We don't wait for the future and we build it. Like, so that's how we look ahead with bringing up all the products to the customers with a better experience. So actually, I'm going to cover a little bit about the dojos and the half session, and then I'm going to describe or let you know about what the learnings we did about the cloud native journey with the OTP team. So what is Dojo like? It's an immersive center where dedicated product teams go for a 6 weeks engagement to accelerate the product adoption of the modern engineering practices. The teams learn to work together in new ways while focusing on their own backlog. So basically, if you have a kind of BAU teams, we work for 6 weeks within the dojo, where the full stack of team going to be within the dojo to work with their challenges. But when we came through this cloud native migration, we thought like 6 weeks is not like really possible, or it's going to be very difficult to achieve their challenges. So then we leverage this 6 weeks of engagement to 12 to 18 weeks, where the teams can plan accordingly to do this cloud migration. So we have the teams in the dojo workspace. That's not the regular workspace what we have. I'm going to show the picture in the future slides. So basically we have a different environment where the full stack of team come to the dojo and spend their time very focused on the goal that they are trying to achieve through this cloud native migration. So what do we help here? Like, so it's efficiency optimization, app modernization, and product model transformation. So when we come to efficiency optimization, it's completely end-to-end automation, where we start the teams and the development teams to start with business-driven development and BDD and TDD, test-driven development. So we want to lift the other side, where the development teams need to write the test cases where they can implement the development based on the business requirements. So, and also it's like completely automated with testing embedded into that, where the CI/CD pipelines and the deployments happen only through very successful testings, so that the application is like really gone through all the testings. So app modernization is cloud migration, where we have a monolith applications on-prem, where we are trying to move them to cloud. And everything as code. So now we have everything coming through Ansible playbooks and CloudFormation templates and Jenkins files. So everything is being written in code and source control, where they're efficiently organized to do the deployments through code and less interaction with the UI of the tools. Optimization for the code and breaking the monolith is so as I said, we have different kinds of applications, different kinds of things that need to be achieved here. So we picked the very small application to test everything end to end with all the features and with all the tech stack that we chosen to prove the concept as a very successful model. And then we are trying to move towards the remaining applications and their goals. So that's how we are trying to break the monolith application into microservices to bring into the cloud native application. And shifting to the product, so we are no longer working as a project model. It's not based on the projects. We are trying to break down the applications as a product based, so that we are shifting from product to product model. That's all about the product model transformation that we are right now trying to bring into the product model. So as I mentioned, who is going to be in the dojo? Is it the whole development team sitting there writing some coding? No. We have the whole stack of people coming down to the dojo, where we have all these initial consults with the teams before they come into the dojo that I'm going to cover in the next slides. So we have right from product owners, stakeholders, UI, UX designers, QA engineers, Scrum Masters, application engineers, infrastructure engineers, and performance engineers. So the whole end-to-end tech stack people are going to be sitting at one place, trying to focus on one single thing to achieve their goals and measures. So it's not the development team has some UI design and they have some questions on that. They send an email or kind of chatting with them for hours, rather than they have the people sitting at one desk trying to figure out the things immediately and then move forward with their things. So it's more of pretty much focused to what they're doing this 12 to 18 weeks, rather than spending hours doing multiple things. So it's pretty much that the whole team is focused on one thing to achieve their 12 or 18 weeks of goal. So the dojo flow is as I said, it's a BAU project. It goes for 12 200-day sprints. But if it is cloud migration, as I mentioned, we are trying to make it as 12 to 18 weeks, where we have a weekly sprints. And the overall view is the teams go through consult. And then they go for chartering, and they have the learning circle, which is a repeated process throughout the 12 to 18 weeks. And then they have an exit interview and apply the learnings. So if I go a little bit detail at these stages, the consult is initially we have the team, 2 or 3 people going to approach us to explain their pain points or their challenges, what they're facing, and especially when they're moving to production, they have many challenges that they want to go through the process. We have what we have internally within the Verizon, the security clearance and all those kind of things. So that's the place at the consult where we discuss about all these things and identify whether that team is good for as a dojo candidate. So then we move to the chartering, where the whole tech stacks team, what I mentioned in the previous slide, the whole team is going to be there in the dojo for 3 to 4 hours to go through the deep dive of what their product going to do and what their challenges, goals, and measures, and all those things that I'm going to cover in the next slide. And once that is done, with all the working agreements and everything, they go through this whole repetitive process of sprint planning, delivery, discovery, and review, and the retrospective. So this is a complete repeated process throughout the 12 to 18 weeks of journey. And once this is done and they achieve their goals, at the last week of the challenge, we have an exit interview where we talk about what their learnings are, what their takeaways are, and how they're going to move forward once they go out of the dojo, and how they're going to take the things moving forward. And same, it's not just at the dojo, learning these practices for 12 to 18 weeks. It's all they need to take these learnings and apply them in their future products to apply them and be more successful in the cloud native journey. So these are the things that we covered during the Dojo shattering, like we have the elevator pitch, goals and measures, working agreements, and the skill matrix. So these are the 4 sections that we cover that goes around 3 to 4 hours with the teams. Every individual has to actively participate in this to exactly know what they're going to do during this 12 to 16 weeks. So the elevator pitch is like the toughest thing as per my experience. Like, I mean, it's not tough as it takes more time for the team to, it's like we write about the overarching learning goal, like to say what that product is going to do and how it is going to be explaining all the things like, so to come out of that and to get the elevator pitch, it's going to be like a couple sentences to tell about what exactly their product is going to do. And that's where we ask repeatedly the questions to each and every individual of the Dojo participant about what the product is going to do and for whom, who are the customers and what the customers need and why the customers need that. So these 3 questions, asking the team members repeatedly, gives us a lot of inputs to bring up the elevator pitch. So once we come up with the elevator pitch, we come down to the goals and success measures. So it's, we start listing out all the goals that they need to achieve during this 12 to 16 weeks. So it's not only listing out the goals, it's very important for us to write the success measures across each and every individual goal to let them say that this goal has this success measures and this is how we measure the success across each goal. And the working agreements are pretty normal logistics, like how they work, like 8 hours a day, 6 hours a day, and weekly demos, and sprint plannings, and retrospectives, and all kind of things, and how they work together during this 16 weeks of journey. Like, but retrospectives are very important for us because that helps us to learn what they did better and how they want to move more learnings during this 2 weeks or 1 week sprints or 2.5-day sprints. So it's like of helping the teams to know that if you have something that's not working, it's very easy for them to move to another one that helps or better fits their technology stack. So it's kind of failing fast and moving forward with the new technologies, like to see what really works for them. And this is where like the teams really work together and that help them to easily adopt the Spring Boot applications with PCF. So we have MuleSoft, we work with them, and like the team worked with the Spring Boot and PCF, and that's where the Spring Boot and PCF are like really very easy onboarding for the teams and adopt the way they deploy the applications to the PCF environments. So that's the place where the retrospectives really help them, where they go for 2.5-day or 1 week sprint that help them to fail fast, learn new things, and move forward. Coming to skills matrix, we really engage the whole team, every individual, into this skill matrix where they're gonna, it's kind of like we make the team to decide whether every individual is an expert, can teach, or they want to learn. So basically we divide them as two kind of set of people. Like, so it helps us to collaborate and do pairing and mapping here. So every individual, we list out all the tech stack that's going to be implemented or used during this journey of cloud native migration for the whole team in the Dojo. And we ask the team, every individual, to come onto the board or the whiteboards, what we have at the Dojo places, to come on, identify themselves, either they can teach or they want to learn any of these tools. And we do the same thing at the end of the Dojo after the 16 weeks. That helps them to know what they learn or what they teach others during this 16 weeks of journey. Okay, so we do all this. We have all tech stack tools doing good and everything is fine, but how do we measure all these tools? We have Jenkins, our automation tools. We have Stash, like Git repositories, our GitHub, our Bitbucket, and we have very bunch of the quality tools like SonarQube and all kind of tools. And we embed all these tools during this journey, but how do we measure these tools and how do we measure what is our success rate? So it's not like we are committing code, we are doing sonar scans or kind of things, but how efficient we are developing the application and how the application is doing. So this is called the Hygia that we partner with Capital One, and I think even American Airlines and Walmart is trying to contribute to this. And this is the tool where we have all the dashboards at a glance to see how the tools are doing and how the performance is going around the tools with the application teams. So the leftmost corner, that's the Jira issue tracker that tells us about what the issues we have here, and the Jenkins automation in the center section that tells us how the builds are, how successful the builds happening. And the code repo is where that shows what the commits happening on daily basis or how active the commits are in the repository. So the next, as I mentioned, the quality dashboard, where it tells us the quality of the application, which helps us to monitor very frequently, very easily with this dashboard and improve the quality of the application. And also the other one is the deployment happening through various environments. So we can go through across environments to see how the deployments are happening. So finally, as I mentioned, I couldn't capture the right picture here, but if you see on the left corner, we see a small kind of tables with monitors there. That's the place where we collaborate with the teams. So the teams come here to do the chattering for the 3 to 4 hours of the day, and we do even the story mapping that helps the team to collaborate and work together and solve the problems instantly. Not if they have any issue, sending an email is not the solution, to fix the problems immediately. So this is a space, but now we are even trying to see if we can go through the teams where we can help them to leverage their our Dojo practices, but make sure we don't pick the places like the cubicles, what we have in standard environments, but we need to have a collaborative space. With that, I move to the learnings and the lessons we learned from the My Fios and My Verizon OTP application. So when we thought of doing a cloud-native migration, we just got these 4 points in mind, the microservices, containers, DevOps, and continuous delivery. So we want to see that what all that we need to make a successful cloud migration. We have a monolith application, so we want to break that into microservices and then containerize these microservices and implement the whole DevOps architecture here, where we do a continuous delivery and deployments to make these microservices deployed successfully. And then, as I said, the continuous delivery is a key role here to make the deployments happen very successful. So the one-time payment, when went through the whole cloud-native journey, this is the thing where the key features that we identify, where it's 100% open source, no commercial softwares, real-time business KPI monitoring, and on-demand auto-scaling on large-scale hardware enabling high performance at low cost. So it's not like we are trying to have the hardware sitting there, even though it's not really utilized. So we do kind of bring in the auto-scaling, where it's pretty much very easy for the developers to handle and the development teams to handle through PCF. And the auto-scaling is really helping them to catch up with their business needs. The build traffic management we also have with the top 10 security protections, and fast TTM deployment anytime. We can do deployments anytime. It's not like manual deployments. Everything is automated except a single approval near the production, where the production deployment happens with one single approval. Functionally decoupled microservices allows quick modular deployments. So it's always easy to do microservice deployments individually, not making them as a big monolith applications. It's very easy when we have monolith microservice applications that can be deployed very individually. And this is the key factors of the OTP team, where they migrated from a Microsoft .NET application to Java Spring Boot. And it's a monolith, but now we are trying to bring that into microservice on PCF. And trust me, the team, they have no idea about the microservices, and they don't know anything about PCF and Spring Boot architecture and the framework. They're here for 12 to 16 weeks, focus on this thing. Now they are all independent to develop the microservices and deploy through PCF. So PCF and the Spring Boot framework are really very adaptive for the teams to deploy and refactor their monolith applications. And they're now pretty much very decent shape deploying all their microservices through PCF. And they have ASP.NET, and now they're Angular 5, and then SQL Server to our Postgres. And we have our internal API gateway called IT Workbench, and then they move to Apogee, which is the API gateway that we adapted to have all our microservices through Apogee with API proxies. So the real-time logging and analytics, we have Datadog and Dynatrace to have all the monitoring and the inbuilt monitorings and alerting systems that we got with PCF. And this is our high-level architecture that I'm not going to cover more in detail on this, but this is what we have, the high-level architecture. I'm really excited to show this video, but our legal department has something that I'm not allowed to show. But basically, we have two browsers here. On the left, which is on-prem, and this is on the right, it is on cloud. And we enter the employee account, the customer account information, and hit the sign-in button. And that the on-prem takes 7 seconds, and the cloud takes 3 seconds. So it's a real great achievement for the team to make the progress with the cloud-native journey. So as I mentioned, the future state of the pipeline, as we move on to this cloud-native journey and more microservices, API proxies, it's very hard to handle or manage these microservices, right? So we proposed a pipeline model where they can deploy the microservices based on their changes rather than deploying the whole set of microservices through the repos. So coming to the benefits, out of this journey through cloud native with PCF and Spring Boot, it's very easy to adopt and maintain, and PCF apps are self-managed and auto-scale. We just go through each application, turn on and off the auto-scale. It's pretty much easy for the developers or anybody in the team to do their auto-scaling managed work very well. User-defined services can be attached, detached as needed. That's one of the good things we have with PCF, where we can bring in any kind of monitoring tools or alerting tools to be embedded with the PCF framework, the Spring Boot framework. And I'm going through the important things we hear. Rolling in place upgrades, it's rolling out the upgrades by versioning the APIs and the microservices is very critical, and that's one of the benefits here. And the lessons learned. So it's established for me when we started deploying the applications to production. That's where it starts the real play of the ground, right? So we established good communication channels between application and platform teams during the PCF version upgrades. Make sure your applications are doing good during these version upgrades, especially when you're in production. And Security is day one concern, like data in transit, at rest, encryption keys, certificate chains, and credential rotations. Make sure you consider all these things during your security reviews. And security scanning and enforcement is also like make sure you have all this covered properly during your security scans. And plan for load testing and auto scaling around CPU utilization and HTTP requests and etc. Like understand the thresholds to set for scaling. So we internally have a lot of security reviews to make sure we successfully deploy these applications to production. So these are very key learnings that we need to have to understand and successfully deploy the applications to production environments. With that, I'll leave the open questions if you have any. Yep.
I was curious, when you were talking about versioning your endpoints, did you choose to use Swagger or Open API to facilitate the communication?
Exactly, yep. We have the Swagger and API documentation, yep. So that helps us more to manage the API proxies, yeah, Swagger specifications and deploying. That's also everything is completely automated, like to deploy the Swagger specifications through Apogee.
And did you, when you version your endpoints, did you do them individually or as a block for the whole microservice?
That's a good kind of discussion we had, like we've been working with the teams, like to see how they can, there are some microservices that are dependent to each other, like so, and some are independent, but it's very important to design at the very beginning to see how they're really coupled each other and make sure they're deployed accordingly. Like, so it's not like, we need to understand if the microservice is dependent with another microservices when we do an upgrades and deploy and support multiple devices, right? So that's, yes.
So you talked about, if I heard correctly, like a 16-week dojo, or how did you persuade the business that it was all right for your development teams to spend all of this time kind of, I mean, surely they were delivering business value, but they were also spending time learning. So can you talk about that process?
Yeah, especially in dojo, like it's not like anything that we learn at the dojo and go back and apply, but as I mentioned, like it's learn and fail fast and learn the new things. Like, so we learn while we are applying the learnings to the real time. So but initially as we maintain that goals and measures, we plan for the weeks, but we make sure we do reach that goals and measures. But at some point when we, it's the coach is very critical role there to make sure that they achieve the goals and measures. If not, if they feel like that they're not achieving their goals within the time, we do a retrospective and rechartering again to make sure we are on line with the goals and measures. So if there is something that's not happening as per the initial plan or the design, then we extend the dojo based on their requirements. Yep, that's complete automation. I think. Right from source code, like it's the day one starts with the Jenkins and any other automation tools. Like it's not like we are doing at the end. Everything starts from day one, parallel. Like so, it's done. Everything the setup is done at the first week of the dojo, and where on the second week nobody has to worry about deployments. So it's only code commits and pull requests. Everything is like kind of set up with an automation. Like so, we make sure during the first week everything is automated and everything is in place where the deployments happen and taken care through pull requests. So the whole automation happens during the journey. Like so, it's not like we bring up everything and then do the deployments later. Automation.
No dropping velocity?
No. Yeah. That's the main key role of the coach to make sure that everything is happening in line. Yep. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for giving me this opportunity.